Okay, so bear with me for a few moments, just getting things sorted out. We're going to go for a bit of an adventure in Chile. YouTube Studio. I'm just getting my monitor of the live stream sorted out, and then we'll get the aircraft up and running. Live stream. It's a while since I've done a live stream. I've kind of forgotten how to set things up now. Is that done? Bear with me. Okay. Because I have to set up a second computer pointing at the live stream so I can see it, if that makes sense. Otherwise I don't get to see what I'm broadcasting, which can be quite pivotal. Okay, we're going to need to put some fuel in the aeroplane to begin with. So we start out with 50%, which is 37 gallons. Let's go for a bit more than that. Let's go for 75%, which should be good to see us quite a long way down the road. Okay, so we're going to be doing this flight in the Cessna 337 Skymaster in Flight Simulator. So this is a Carinado aircraft that's available from the marketplace in Flight Sim, and I actually really like it. So just having to think, have I got the controls configured correctly? Yes, the throttles are working. So what do we need to do to get this aircraft started? First things first, we look overhead, and yes, the fuel cutoff valves are looking fine. So put the mixture to full rich, and the propeller condition levers are already full forwards. We are on the parking brake, so that's not a concern either. Okay, let's start powering things up. So master battery switch, the alternators, pitot heat, nav, strobe, beacon lights, and turn on the avionics master switch. So we do have power now throughout the cockpit, which is good. We're going to be using little nav map to navigate en route, so we're not going to bother programming anything directly into the GPS along the way. What else can we do? Okay, let's get the engine started. So that was the rear engine, and get the front engine started. Okay, so the cowl flaps are open, the gear lever is down, so we need to get flaps sorted out. Now, immediate mistake we've made, we are parked up right against the building here, so we're going to cheat slightly, and we're going to press Shift and P to push ourselves back to give ourselves some room to take off, basically. You can see we're going to have some spectacular scenery for this route. Okay, so Shift P again. Just making sure things are looking good around the cockpit before we get started. I think we're okay to go. It's worth having a listen to the engine because this thing just sounds awesome. Okay, so let's go and have a look at little nav map and see where we are and where we're going. So we'll just make sure that the transmitter is working, and it appears to be, which is good. And Villa O'Higgins, why is that not picking up our location? It should be. And this is underneath the aircraft, of course. We're not appearing on the list of aircraft here either. There we are. Okay, there's a bug in transmitter then. Okay, anyway, we're not going to worry too much about that. Let's go and get going. I'll just make sure I'm on the correct multiplayer server, so if anybody does want to fly along with me, we're on Southeast Asia. Okay, let's go and get in the air. Taxi out to the wrong way. Okay, let's just check on the wind direction. So wind is from the left, so we want to go right. So we're just going to roll down to the end of the runway. And then turn around and make our takeoff run. So the first heading we will be travelling this evening is 37 nautical miles, 309 degrees. So before we even get started, let's get the heading bug on the compass in broadly the right place. Okay, heading bug 309. So we're going to take off, climb out, and then do an immediate right turn. Just holding the runway direction. 60 knots, 70 knots, we'll get some speed up, 80 knots, and rotate gently, and gear up, flaps up, begin our turn. As you can see, this river is completely filled with ice at the moment, so I'm not exactly sure how accurate the weather in this part of the world is. So I know South America is in winter at the moment, so well, you know, it's not their summer, let's put it that way. So there we go. So we're going to fly along this flat route. Look at the scenery, it's ridiculous, isn't it? So let's have a look. So we're going to follow broadly along this mountain valley all the way to Rio Bravo Airport, which will be our first stop for the day. So we'll carry on along here and see how we go. Now let's have a look at the temperatures. We're going to pull the engines back ever so gently to 90% just to get it out of the dangerous area on the manifold pressure. The RPM is still going absolutely gangbusters, so let's pull the RPM back a bit as well. Get it back into the green. Let's get this trimmed out on the elevators as well. It's rolling gently to the right, but we can correct that with a bit of trim. Let's just check the volume levels as well to make sure I'm not deafening you and you can hear me over the engine, which I think you can. But I'll turn the engine down just a little bit so you can hear me over it easily. Okay, so this is the Cessna Skymaster, the 337. Okay, we haven't closed the cowl flaps yet, so let's go do that as well. So, make us a little bit more aerodynamic, and we'll see the speed increase gently. So I may be doing some group flights in this part of the world with Virtual Flight Online, because look at the scenery, it's ridiculous. It's so good. I've not flown this part of the world before, to be honest. So this is going to be worth doing, I think. This is live weather, so you know what we see is what we get, basically. We can push the... oh, that's interesting. In this aircraft then we can push the view using translation controls straight out of the body, which is actually quite useful, because that means you can do this sort of trick. And we can do a full screen view of where we're going. So you really do get to see the scenery. Although having said that, it is quite nice to be behind the glass. So you get to see the dials and everything else. And we get to keep an eye on the engine gauges. So fuel flow is incredibly high still, so I may... The trouble is, if I slow us down too much, it's going to take ages to get to our destination. So let's have a quick look at the map. How are we doing? So the legs aren't going to be very long. As you can see, we're going to make our way slowly north through the Chilean mountains. So this first leg takes us along this huge valley. Excuse me. I've still got the remnants of COVID, I'm afraid, so I keep coughing. I sometimes stumble over words. Seems to be one of the more common affectations of it, I'm afraid. This scenery is something else, isn't it? And the hills obviously are enormous. Just gonna have a look at the other side. So yeah, this is the Cessna 337 Skymaster. It's kind of unique in Flight Simulator in that the engines are in series along the fuselage, one behind, one in front. This is quite powerful. Okay, let's have another little look at the map. I guess while we're flying along the route we could program some of the waypoints in and just do it as we go. So if we go to the flight plan page and put the focus in here, the airport we left from was SCOH, Sierra Charlie Oscar Hotel. So just keep an eye on the horizon over here while we do this. Sierra. Charlie. Oscar. Hotel. Enter. And the airfield we are heading towards is Rio Bravo, Sierra Charlie Romeo Bravo. So, Sierra Charlie Romeo Bravo. Enter. And then we go to flight plan to close it, and we should get the straight line appearing on the map between the start and end of our flight plan. Now we're using basic radio navigation. We could switch on the GTN 750 in here, which will give us a bit more detail. So if we open the tablet in the Skymaster, we can swap this out in flight. So we'll go next and we'll turn on the GTN 750 and we'll get rid of the tablet again, put it back in the pocket. So we've retrofitted the GTN 750 while we're flying, and if we look on the map in here, we can zoom out a bit and we get much more detail on the valley, which is quite cool. So looking at live stream chats, Mohammed says hello bro. I'll say I'm not your brother, but hello. I have been following you since launching Microsoft Flight Simulator. Sorry, I think you meant launching there, but anyway. Yes, hello. Nice to see you watching. We've got VTPA, Victor Tango Papa Alpha, saying hello. Hello to you too. Okay, so we're just going to follow along the base of this valley until we get to the next airfield, and I guess as we're flying along this fairly pedestrian piece of the route here, we could put in the next couple of waypoints. So Sierra Charlie Victor Sierra. So let's see, it should be a bit easier in here, shouldn't it? Back, flight plan. Can I make a new one? Okay, this is asking for that to be the end of the route. So, oh crikey. Well, we'll do it anyway. SCTE then, and then we'll put these in as en route waypoints. So SCTE. So, we can insert before it. Okay. Or insert after, and we can go Sierra Charlie Victor Sierra. Sierra Charlie Victor Sierra. Oh, this is a lot quicker, isn't it? And then do another one. Sierra Charlie Hotel Romeo. So if we save that, we can say insert after Sierra Charlie Hotel Romeo. Enter. Then we can go back and come back onto the map, and we're looking good. So then we've got the next few waypoints on our route, which is really useful. So what does the CDI button do here? Oh, that just switches between GPS and VLOC. We're not going to be using VOR navigation, so that's all good. So Mohammed is saying, what is the easiest airport so that I can start training? Depends what aircraft you want to learn in, really. The bigger the runway, the more room you've got. One airport is much like another. Choose one maybe at sea level, or a low altitude airfield, so one near the sea. Other than that, yeah, just choose somewhere nice and big. So then you've got lots and lots of room, and it's going to be more forgiving of you maybe not being able to steer very accurately to begin with. But the most important thing is try to maintain a sense of fun in what you're doing. If you make it too serious and put too many hurdles in your own way, you will lose interest. Also, if you can, try to fly online with other people, because if there's a sense of community around it, that helps as well to maintain interest. If it's just you and the aeroplane and the ground, it all gets quite boring quite quickly. So if you have a look online and try to find maybe a Discord server or something like that in your native language, then you won't be so nervous about talking. I mean, I'm part of a group that fly online every week called virtualflight.online, and you're welcome to join that, but most of them tend to be native English speakers, and that can be a huge hurdle for some people. So Test Pilot is saying there, yeah, started at airports local to me, so I was familiar with the area. That's always good as well. But yeah, I would say choose something at low altitude though, so something by the sea. The only reason for saying that is the air is thicker at low altitude, so it's easier to fly in. It's less to have to worry about. You have to fly faster at high altitude because the air is thinner. And you're more likely to stall, for example, because the stall speed is higher at high altitudes. So if you're like at the moment I'm flying in Chile, if I went up into the Andes here, I would have to be really careful. Okay, so I'm going to start descending, so let's pull the throttles back. But yeah, so any airfield is fine, and to be honest, it's a simulator. It's it's a game. It doesn't matter if you mess up. So try different airfields out. Find one that you like. Find one that you like the scenery around. That's kind of interesting. That has some landmarks you can navigate by, maybe. So when you're just starting out, knowing the area will be really key, because then you don't have to think too much about where am I, what direction do I need to go, and maybe pick an aeroplane with good visibility around the cockpit, so you can see outside easily. A lot of people tend to learn in either the Cessna 152 or the 172. The advantage of the 172 is it has the autopilot. The 152 doesn't, but the skills you will learn in the small GA aircraft apply to all future aircraft. So the more time you spend in them, the more it pays off. So I've just pulled the engine back, and we got a warning there because I've not put the gear down yet. So which way is the wind going to be? Now we're getting close to that airfield. Let's have a look. So we're just coming in. There's no real wind down in this valley, so I'm going to probably scoot round over these trees and come back in. Just to do a touch and go. So we're losing altitude all the time, so we're going to turn over the trees and then come in, do our touch and go, and then climb out again. So I'm going to need to reduce speed. So we're going to start as soon as we stop descending, the speed will bleed off, then we can get the gear down and the flaps down, which will obviously introduce an awful lot of drag, which will help us slow down even further. So it's just about being methodical, really. So if we look out the corner, we can see where we're going back towards in a moment. So the speed is coming off slowly. And obviously turning is going to lose us quite a lot of speed as well. So you look at the speed coming off now, now we're turning. To watch out for the hillside on the opposite side of the valley, but we're making a good turning right now, so down come the flaps. Now we have to try and spot the runway again. Gear down. So let's actually going to be a trick to see it, isn't it? It's all whited out now. Are we right over it already? Where was the runway? I can't see it. I have completely lost the runway. I can't see it anywhere. Oh, there it is. So there's the aeroplanes down there. So we'll double back. Now we know where it is. It's this strip. So we'll double back, and we'll come down and do our touch and go. Gear is down, flaps are down. And there's the runway hidden in the snow. Full flaps. I'm not so sure this scenery is accurate, you know, or the weather, sorry. This flight seems quite famous for putting far too much snow on the ground. And we're down. So what we might do is put broken cloud on. Because this just doesn't seem real at all. It seems like it's completely overdone. So let's go for, instead of this, we're going to do scattered clouds, which is going to be a bit more fun. And we'll get to see actually some scenery instead of just snowy tundra all the way. Okay, so we're going to want to turn. So we're going to slowly remove the flaps. Hopefully get some speed up. Hopefully miss this hill. And we're climbing. We've got to turn through another 180 degrees and then we're going to climb out of this valley hopefully. It's looking good to make it straight up through here. Kieran says, evening Jonathan, how are you doing? I'm doing really well. Just reading backwards through the live stream. One other question is Microsoft Flight Simulator can help me to get a PPL license? It will certainly get your... It depends how you use it. It's the same with any of these tools. It will certainly help with your coordination and it will help you with your reflexes and muscle memory around how an aircraft behaves. So absolutely, if you spend enough time with it, you'll be able to fly an aeroplane. It won't teach you correct procedures. It won't teach you radio telephony, which is half the story with flying a real aircraft. You know, communicating with ground control. Yeah, and it won't teach you safety. It won't teach you engineering. You can use it in the correct ways, but it won't stop you from abusing it, if that makes sense. you are free to use it. This is a toolbox, a toy box, so you're free to use it in the way you see fit. So if you use it in a professional way, then yes, absolutely it will help you, but it's not going to score you or judge you or mark you on things you are not doing correctly. You cannot replace real tuition with a simulator for procedures, for safety, for engineering, and for communication. This is not payware. This is the free PMS 50 GTN 750. So if you search for PMS 50 on Google, you will find this, and it's free, and it just gives you that little glass cockpit. So when you're doing flights like this where I'm flying through mountains, it's actually really useful to get a bit better view rather than just the standard radio stack, which would give you nothing, and I end up having to go back looking in little nav map all the time, which I can still do, of course. I've got it running. So you can see that was our loop, and we're now heading up towards the next airfield. So I'm guessing we'll take this valley and then stay out onto the basin down here before we go to Lago Vargas. So we'll see how we go. Follow it round to the left. Just trimming us out so we're not going upstairs quite so much. So gear is not up yet. I'm going to raise the gear. That would help, wouldn't it? Yeah, so this is the Cessna Skymaster 337, which you can swap out the radio kit in it via the tablet. So you either get the basic steam gauge radio stack kind of kit in the aircraft, or you get the GTN 750, which is a free download. There is a payware version of it, it has to be said. The freeware one doesn't have tricks like the Navigraph map support or things like that, whereas the freeware one just does basic mapping. But it's good enough for flying around and for seeing the map, which is really useful. The Skymaster costs about £20 that's UK money, from the Microsoft marketplace, which is about $25, I guess. Shall we have a look from outside? It's a nice looking plane, isn't it? Okay, so we'll come down into this valley, follow the valley floor around to the airfield, and then figure out where we're going to land. So we can go and check the METAR at the destination, or the next airfield I should say. So let's go and hover over Lago, and it says 0 knots wind. Not a problem then. So we can choose our route into the airfield ourselves. Again, we need to probably start managing speed before too long. We're going very fast. So let's cut the engine all the way back to almost idle. And descend along the valley. Yeah, I'm just reading the live stream chat. Kieran's on about the twin boom aircraft. They do look good fun, don't they? And yeah, I just bought this last night, and I've done a couple of videos on YouTube with it, just showing, you know, the ins and outs of the aircraft. And it's the flight modelling is really good, and the avionics work really nicely as well. It's very good. Carenado have done a really good job on it. Okay, look, we're getting the scenery, the horizon line bug showing up in the mist. Okay, 50% throttle. We're just eking away some of the speed before we arrive at this airfield. If we get this, if we follow the hill round to the right, we should be able to go straight in. So if you look on the map here, if we can follow this round and then turn in left, we should be able to go straight in. We'll have to remain quite low and slow to achieve that, so we may end up... There's the main river over there, which I think is this one. If we can't quite see the nearest river, or stream I should say. This doesn't appear to be on the map, but we'll find out in a moment. Yeah, I agree with you, Kieran, about the horizon line, but I tend to ignore it most of the time. Okay, we've sped up obviously as we've been descending, so let's lose some of that speed and let's try and turn around behind this hill, and hopefully we'll pop out from behind the hills and be right on top of the airfield. So we're losing speed as we go, which is perfect. So then we'll come back out through here and hopefully be right in front of the runway. Well, that's the plan. Okay, so we're just trying to lose some more speed here to get the flaps down, which we've just achieved. I've got damage on, that's why I'm being so careful. Down comes the gear. We've now got lots of drag. Scenery looks stunning out there, doesn't it? So we're looking now for the airfield. So it should be hiding behind this hill somewhere, almost on top of it. I'm just looking down here for a runway looking stretch of flat grass. Oh, here it is, it's in the trees, it's just coming, look. I always find this kind of one of the most fun things, is when you're searching for airfields in the middle of nowhere. Some nice trees on the approach route, so full flaps. Pull the engine back to idle. Going to keep the speed up for this one because we need to climb out pretty... Oh, blimey, what happened there? I think that was a stutter with the USB. I'm going to have to get a USB controller card for this PC. There's something about the motherboard that Flight Sim doesn't like. Whoa. Got a bit of a skid on there, didn't we? Okay, so now we get a choice of route. I'm going to go left, I think, along this very pretty valley, around this landscape here, and follow my nose, kind of. Let's see where we end up. So I'm just trimming the elevators back out. As we pick up speed, obviously, they won't become an issue, so gear back up. Ernie has appeared in the live stream, and so has Rai. So Ernie is saying another interesting and spectacular location. Yeah, I'm always trying to scout out places I've never been before, so Chile looked like a good idea. I think that's the proper pronunciation, isn't it? Chile. It's not Chile. I think a lot of English people call it Chile, and that's completely wrong. It's Chile. So I guess I follow this river along here in towards the sun. The sun's coming up this part of the world, so as the flight continues on, it's going to get brighter, hopefully. Looks like a photograph sometimes, doesn't it? Should we do the famous trick where we push the camera through the propeller? And then you get to actually watch the scenery. It's a shame there isn't a higher polygon count, I guess, on the ground. You can see it's kind of approximated on the edges of the river. It's not very high resolution. So it's the AI has been doing its job basically with low resolution data. But it looks the part though, doesn't it? So if we go back inside, we get the windscreen adds to it, I guess, with the texturing and the reflections. So it makes up for a lack of detail in the scenery. How are we doing on fuel burn? So we got lots, basically. So not a concern for quite some time yet, for several hours even. So we're going to fly along. I'm at least going to try and do a couple of hours this evening. So we'll see. See how we get on. So let's have a look on this as well. So if we zoom out, you can see there's our next airfield. So we can stay, I guess we can zigzag to get there, can't we? So we'll follow this round to the right and then go right and left at the end of the next valley. So Rai is asking, what is my overall opinion of the Skymaster? I really like it. I think it's one of my favourite aircraft in the sim so far. It's up there with the 414, the Chancellor, and the 310. It's great, and the Kodiak, obviously. So it's right up there with them in terms of being fun to fly. The avionics all work great. The flight dynamics are fantastic as well. I had to play with it earlier and put it into an unrecoverable spin, which it's been very rare that I've seen that in flight simulator aircraft. So I was able to actually put it into a proper kind of flat spinning tumble. It completely departed controlled flight, which I think is fantastic, because you should be able to do that sometimes with aircraft, and flight sim, through however it does the flight modelling, quite often won't allow you to. You need a break from the 737. Yeah, I quite often, I do know how the big jets work, and I've flown them, I've done videos with them explaining them, and it is great fun to a level, but I actually prefer stick rudder flying, to be honest. And you know, there's some achievement in radio navigation, things like that, but you can't beat just, you know, flying along and using your wits, basically. So we're going to go back, we're on the back of this hill over here. So then we get a nicer route into the next airfield. Otherwise I think it would just be a big flat plane all the way, which would be quite boring. let's sit up in the corner. It's a wonderfully modelled aeroplane. The texture quality inside it is amazing. It looks photographic at times. I've been thinking about buying FS Realistic to integrate with Flight Sim. I'm still not completely sold on that it's worth the money. It's about £20 if you buy it from the right place. I think Just Flight have got it for that. And it causes head movement and you get a lot of extra sounds, but to be honest, a lot of these newer aeroplanes that have come out have got very, very good sounds to begin with. And one of the issues, if you've got head movement going on, is it becomes more difficult to click on instruments. I'm going to cut the engine back a little bit because we really are pushing the manifold pressure on both of those engines at the moment, and it's probably not ideal. I have played around with this Skymaster with cutting one engine and the other, and you can fly with one engine quite happily, either pulling or pushing. Obviously you get a massive reduction in power, but if you're in cruise you can keep going with one engine. And in many ways it's much more efficient with the Skymaster configuration than it would be with a normal twin like a Baron or something like that, because you don't get, you know, asymmetric thrust because the engines are in line with each other. Okay, so we're going to have to climb over this hill, I think. We're just about to find out, so let's scoot across the cockpit. Oh no, it's okay, we can fly along this. Yeah, so these are the lakes I was hoping to fly along. And then out over there somewhere is the next airfield. Shall we buzz the trees? Being careful now about airspeed because I do have the damage switched on. We could rip the airplane to pieces if we overdo things. Should we go down and have a look at the water? We are going very quickly. I'm keeping a very close eye on the indicated airspeed. We are shifting. So I guess we can take the route around the edge of the headland over here. It's funny, where there's a mark on the windscreen up here, I keep thinking there's an aeroplane up there. It keeps catching the corner of my eye. It's a shame there's no way of cleaning the windscreen. There's another mark just there that kind of keeps... I keep thinking there's an aeroplane out there. Okay, we're about to run out of water, so I'm going to climb. I think the natural river run does go along here, down to the bottom of the valley and into the next lake. But we should find a little way further across the next airfield. So let's go in here and zoom in. So we're going to cross this small lake. Now there's a jut of land which I presume is this. And just round the back of it we're going to find the next airfield. So we're going to go through the pass over here. Well, at least that's what it looks like. Pushing the engines forwards to maximum manifold pressure just to give them a clear their throat, let's put it that way. It's incredible scenery, isn't it? Very, very impressed. Just scoot in over here. I mean, look at that sun. It's awesome. Okay, so after this next airfield we need to have a look at the map to see where we're going next. So we followed along and we're going to SCLO next. So let's go and figure that out because we're approaching this one. SCLO. So if we go to the back page, back, flight plan, insert after SCLO. And enter, and back, and map, and we can then focus again. So it's down here in the gap. There's like a natural basin in between the hills we're about to cross past. So I'm going to cut the engine back and start slowing down already. And hopefully as we cross this ridge we will see an airfield down here in the basin. And there it is. So do we have wind to contend with is the question. So 5 knots, so we need to go to the other end. So the wind is going with us towards the runway, which is no good for a landing or for an approach even. So I'm going to circle round over the town and come in. It's not a town, is it? It's a village. So let's circle round, losing speed as we go. Do this as efficiently and neatly as we can. It's actually on a bit of a raised platform, isn't it, the runway? So this airfield is Cochrane, Sierra Charlie Hotel Romeo. And after we leave here, we'll be heading almost north. So, going to circle around the town and then line up for our approach. It's quite a remote place to live, isn't it? But isn't it beautiful? Can you imagine living up here? Let's keep an eye on the indicated airspeed. We don't want to get too slow. Let's just sit down in the cockpit. Can we see the runway back? No, that's the runway there. So we are parallel with it right now. Okay, so let's get a look at that airspeed. Perfect. That's the gear coming down. There's the runway. Sit ourselves straight in the seat to judge the run into landing. We're at full flaps. I'm most worried about that hill directly in front of us on the exit from the runway. But we're flying into a headwind, so it should be good. It's actually quite a long runway, isn't it? Yeah, this is wanting to take off. Look, it's sliding on the road. There we go. So gear up straight away. We need all the speed we can get. And then we're going to do a hard right turn. So flaps up. Speed, speed, speed. And we're fine. I mean, we could have done that much more violently if we wanted to, but smooth usually means speed. And we can pull the engines back and gently climb out. Yeah, it's similar to Zion. This is all default scenery. Yeah, this is out of the box flight simulator. So I'm just responding to Caden. Is that in the live stream chat? Apologies if I say people's names incorrectly. Okay, so we'll follow the line here. Let's have a little look at the map as we fly out. So we could scout around to the left to avoid the hills to go to Leonis, and then we're on to Rio Murta. So we'll program some of these in along the way. So we want to go to back and flight plan. And at the moment we are coming up to SCLO, but we're going to go then on to SCRU, so we'll do that here, insert after, SCRU, and enter. And then after that we're going to SCFC. Sierra Charlie Foxtrot Charlie, enter. And then after Sierra Charlie Foxtrot Charlie, we're going to SCII, Sierra Charlie India India. So insert after Sierra Charlie India India, enter. So that's the next few waypoints programmed in, so we don't have to worry about them. So let's have a look at the map. So yeah, we're going to scoot round to the left and stay on along the low ground rather than climb over the hills. So cut the engines back to 50%. It is amazing scenery, isn't it? So we are in Chile, if anybody is wondering. So if we zoom out on the map to see what part of the world that is, if your geography is not very good. So you've got Argentina, South America, so you've got Brazil, Paraguay, Bolivia, Uruguay, and all down this western side of South America is Chile. So we're making our way through the hilly bits, and that's quite intentional because hills always make for the best flight simulator flights. I don't know how far we're going to get along this route today, but we'll see how we go. At least for another hour. I may have to nip out a bit later on to fetch my daughter from work. She works in a bar, so obviously we don't like her walking home on her own at closing time. So we live near quite a busy town, and the pub she works at is in the town centre, so I usually walk up and walk home with her. Have a message here. It's saying set course. Okay, it's just telling us what direction to go. Don't need to pay much attention to that, to be honest. So we follow this river out to the lake at the end, then follow the left-hand side of the water, which should take us up to the next airfield, which is quite useful, really. So we'll leave ourselves on the map there. This GTN 750 is very useful with it being a touchscreen. It makes it, very, very simple to operate from the cockpit. And obviously you get the relief maps, which are really useful. So you can plan your GA kind of VFR flying around major hills. You can see where this isn't perhaps the most accurate scenery because there's like quite rough vectors. So the the AI has obviously done a bit of a number, and obviously allied with the lighting and the aircraft textures, it kind of helps it to an extent. If you're looking for somewhere new and interesting to fly, then South America is fantastic. I wonder if one of the world updates might be bringing wider areas of South America to the simulator. Trouble is, there's so much jungle. I can't see how they could do a high resolution version of much of it because there's just so much of it. I guess getting hold of accurate survey data is the other issue, especially for the waterways. To map the edges of the water, it's going to be a hell of a task. And we're just flying over this little settlement down here. Even though we said, oh, you know, it's not very detailed, I mean, just look, it's pretty good. I mean, okay, that's, you know, it's on the lower end of the flight sim spectrum in terms of detail, but it's still pretty good. Okay, so we follow this up to the natural inlet that happens at the far end, and then follow around to the left and we find the next airfield. The scenery is just spectacular every direction you look, isn't it? Getting there slowly. So we should be able to see the end of the headland soon, and we'll go out across and find the next airfield. So we can see it here, look. So we're going to come through this gap, then past a small island, and we should be more or less there at that point. I guess this is the point where people who are fans of other simulators will say, oh, look at that texture, oh, that's terrible. In X-Plane, it's nothing, it's much better than that with my £500 scenery I've bought from Orbex for this particular square of the world. And yeah, you can do that in this one as well if you really want to, but this is all free. I was talking to somebody earlier today, actually. I kind of feel a little bit sorry now for the X-Plane guys, because there's only about 16 or so of them working on X-Plane, and it's not a fair fight. And, you know, not that it was a competition to begin with, but they really can't compete against Flight Simulator. I mean, this data, is the cost of the data streaming for the scenery would be untenable by any other company other than Google. Phoenix Morbid is saying hello. Is that your actual last name, Morbid? That's an interesting one to start conversations with, isn't it? Oh my word. Maybe it's a common surname or common last name in your part of the world. It's interesting actually how you get different names around different parts of the world that are not common or mean something different elsewhere. It's like quite often I'll see names come up in the live stream that are obviously real people's names, and I won't even attempt to pronounce them because, you know, if you don't speak the native language, you're just going to mangle it really badly. And quite often you'll see words written in the anglicised kind of English alphabet that were not written in the Latin alphabet, let's call it that. So if you see names that are written, you know, and it doesn't quite make sense how they are spelled, it's probably because they were written in an entirely different lettering system. You know, certainly with like Arabic names, things like that, they turn them into a phonetic version for the English spelling of them, but it's obviously going to be almost impossible to make sense of it unless you're a native speaker. And you know the common ways that, you know, the sounds are recreated with the Latin alphabet. It's the same with Cyrillic as well, the Russian alphabet. The same with Greek. Okay, so there's the airfield, just down to our left down there. So which way is the wind? 6 knots from our left side. So it's a crosswind. So we'll loop around over the surrounding area and we'll come back in. So that was just the buzzer on the throttle as I reduced it a bit too much. So we can see the airstrip down there. Looks like quite a nice airstrip. So it's alongside the hill, just getting some bearings before we turn back in. How are we doing for speed? 120 knots. Speed is coming off nicely. Okay, so gear down. Flaps down. Open the throttles again because we're losing speed at a remarkable rate. And full flaps. Reduce engine to tick over. And we just glide in. It's a very short runway, so you need to be mindful of that and not mess around going for too smoother a landing. This is a bit squirrely sometimes on landing. It tends to be if you've got full flaps, because it's kind of trying to lift off the floor at the same time you're trying to steer it. So gear up. Keep it low and fast across the ground to get the speed up again. Okay, so we are going to turn. Now, do we stay over the water here, or do we climb through the hills? Let's just have a little look at the map. We could fly around the inlet, couldn't we? The alternative, as you can see, would be to fly straight over the top of that hill, which I'm not sure I fancy doing. So let's go for the inlet. So we'll follow the coast and go in the long way round. So if we have a look here, we're going to miss one airport out actually. Should we include that in our route? Or have I just missed it? I've missed it. Oh no, it's here. So should we add that? SCSZ. Sierra Charlie Sierra Zulu. So if we go back here, go to our flight plan. This is where we are at the moment. So in here we say insert after, Sierra Charlie Sierra Zulu. Oops, I've got a mistake on that. Is there a backspace key? There it is. Zulu. Enter. And there we go. So then go back and go back to the map, and we now have the route to the next airfield. How are we doing on fuel? Still lots. And we've got another one of those messages telling us which direction to go. We know very well which direction to go, don't worry. We'll find our way. So I'm presuming, looking at this, yeah, so we follow along quite a long way. So we're going to go along here, I imagine. Or is it over there? Am I actually looking? It's difficult to get a sense of scale here. Yeah, it's just on the other side. Over here is the airfield. And this cloud isn't really helping, is it? This low cloud layer that's rolling in. Defcon says, hello everyone, looks like I'm late to the party. No, you're not late at all. I'm just flying along. So I'm just looking out for the next airfield. So we're just approaching Sierra Charlie Sierra Zulu. So what's that actual name of the airfield? Puerto Sanchez Airport, and it's quite a small runway. It's 2,400, so looks like we could do straight in runway 30 if the wind is still the same over the airfield. Let's have a look. 0 knots on the airfield, so yeah, we'll fly straight in along the headland here. So I'll start removing speed in a moment. Let's hope it stays quite clear for us. So there's the runway over there. You can just see it on the flat ground alongside the water. How is the Skymaster? I've had it on my wish list for a while. It's very good. I think it's probably one of my favourite GA aeroplanes. Maybe because it has steam gauges, but also you can integrate the 750, the PMS 750 into it, which is free, which obviously gives you these wonderful relief maps so you can navigate easily, and it's very quick to program the route into. But also, yeah, the avionics work nicely. The flight modelling, flight dynamics is very, very good. I'm just cutting the throttle back a bit too much there. So I need to lose some speed, so I'm hoping that making the turn will scrub some speed off, which is why I'm turning away from our eventual route. So if I push the nose out of the top of the turn on purpose to present the aircraft side to the air, you can see the runways down here, but we're still very high and we're still struggling to lose speed. So let's get the nose up. We may have to side slip to lose some of this speed, I'm afraid, and to come in quite steeply, because the runway is just down here. And we're very close to it, and we're very high, and we're still quite fast. Okay, we're now slow enough to go for gear and full flaps. And we're probably going to have to side slip. In fact, we're almost certainly going to have to side slip. Okay, side slip city, here we go. Welcome to the world of forcing an aeroplane to do what you want it to do. We're still touching on 100 knots though. Yeah, there's no way. Gonna have to circle, I'm afraid. So we'll go out towards this island, fly around this bay, just to lose some height and some speed. Okay, there's the runway. We're looking better this time. The 750 doesn't come with the aircraft. I've downloaded the PMS 750, but in the tablet for the aircraft, it allows you to install it, you know, to use it instead of the default radio kit, if you have it installed. So it just switches it out live in the cockpit, which I did earlier in the flight. But of course the huge advantage of the PMS GTN 750 is you can program routes very quickly and easily, which is really useful for, you know, quick flights like this one. Okay, we've got full flaps, we've got gear down. Time to concentrate. So get the flaps back up so we don't get too squirrely at high speed. And rotate. And gear up. Okay, so just come off the throttles as we climb out. So we're going to continue on. I think the easiest route is to stay along the water, so we'll continue on into the valley over here and then follow the water around to the next airfield. Okay, so we have a look at it from outside. It's going to be noisy. It looks almost like a photograph, doesn't it? It's a very, very good model. So yeah, I think maybe using Chile as definitely as a target for a group flight at some point, because it's the right kind of distance between the airfields. It's really beautiful scenery. and there's loads of it. We could make several trips, you know, through the mountains. And again, a lot of it is at low altitude, so it will suit a lot more aeroplanes than the high altitude mountainous flights you sometimes find. Plane looks like Roger Moore should be at the wheel. It's probably true, actually. It is of that era, though, isn't it? It's early 80s. If you look at the, it looks like a car fascia from the early 80s. And the different liveries have different coloured interiors. They're really, really nicely done. But I think the thing I like perhaps best about it is that the avionics all work predictably. You know, pretty much everything that's there can be clicked and pushed and pulled and turned, and it all works. And the flight dynamics, yeah, you can fly the plane. The one thing that doesn't work is the weather radar. But again, that's really the fault of the simulator, not of the aircraft. Okay, so we're coming in towards Rio Murta. Let's have a look at the weather. It's 0 knots, so we're going to get a sighting on the runway. It's down here. So what we'll do is turn around. The klaxon is just me pulling the throttle back too much without the wheels or the flaps down. So we're going to just circle here to lose some speed and some altitude. And then we'll do our approach into the airfield. Okay, get down, flaps down, and now we can pull the throttles back to idle without a klaxon, and we can happily descend in to the next airfield. So we'll just straighten our view up. So after we leave here, we're going to have to try and make our way through that mountain pass to the right. So we'll climb out straight and maybe turn to the left and fly through 270 degrees as we accelerate and climb. Just reading Defcon's comments in the live stream chat, saying I think James Bond actors will be my official way of setting the era of modernish aircraft. Yeah, if you've got Grace Jones sitting in the seat alongside you, you really start to worry, I guess. Really nicely modelled area, isn't it? Like looking at the little houses and the roads. This simulator continually surprises me. Okay, we're only doing a touch and go, so don't worry about us coming in quite late on the runway. And we're down. Flaps back to takeoff. And rotate. And gear up. And we'll start to execute what we talked about. So keep low and fast. Watching the airspeed increase. Flaps up. We're going to keep turning through 270 degrees gently over this floodplain. And then hopefully by the time we turn around we'll be going the right direction and be high enough and fast enough to get over the pass in the hills. We'll see if this is going to work. So should we scoot across the cockpit so we can see this hill coming? I'm hoping there's going to be a lower point in a moment. Otherwise we're going round again. Oh, here we go, thankfully. There's the route. So we need to go and have a look at a map. Because obviously this is not going to get us where we're needing to go. So we're looking at this ridge, but we do need to climb out of here. So we're going to go along, then climb up here, and that should give us an exit route. Although we could follow an entirely different route down, couldn't we? That might be a better idea. So we'll continue climbing. You can see that's where we would come through. So let's pull the engines back to save them from damaging themselves. Just reading the notes. We need a Goldfinger business jet. Actually, we need all of the James Bond baddies. I bet somebody must have made the liveries for Drax Industries and all the rest of it. Was it who was the one with the long-haired cat on his lap? Played by Donald Pleasance, wasn't it? Oh crikey, I can't remember their names now. No, was it Dr. No? No, I can't remember. So Stromberg was another one. Okay, so we're going to start making this left turn, and hopefully we're not going to go into a blind valley. So let's just be mindful of this, that we may need an escape route. Or we're going to test the climb rate of the Cessna 337 right here and now. And I think we're about to. So we're going to push the engines right up against the limit. So which way do we go? Do we go for that low point, or do we continue turning right? This is the question of the day. Hopefully we get good visibility through this gap before we get here. Otherwise we're going for this point. We're holding 120 knots though, and this has got two engines, one behind the other. Okay, we're going for... we could go for that, but this is a better route to get to our destination, so we're going to go for this gap over here. Down to 110 knots. This is going to be a bit dicey, but it should be fine. As long as we keep the speed up. It's just about managing speed, isn't it? Yeah, we're fine. We're actually accelerating now, look. And we're going to fly down this valley. Perfect. And this will almost take us to the destination. So we'll have to backtrack ever so slightly. Yeah, this plane climbs like nobody's business, so I'm just going to cut the engines back a little bit because we were running them at 100% there for a few moments. Cutting them back to about 90 or 85%. It's a quick aeroplane. Mind you, from outside you can tell why, because it howls. Yeah? It's noisy. Just trimming it out gently. Look at the quality of these hills. This is quite remarkable, actually. It's Chile. That's where we are. Chile is fantastic by the look of it, and all I did was went and looked in Little Nav Map and looked for somewhere hilly that, you know, had lots of airfields that were quite close to each other, and you can see on the map they're no more than 20-30 miles apart. So for touch go kind of exploring, it's brilliant fun. So this is going to be the basis for some group flights, I think, flying along these amazing passes and valleys. Anybody watching in on this that doesn't know, I founded a group online called Virtual Flight Online, and we meet up once a week to do group flights together in places like this. And obviously we've not been here before, but if you're interested in doing some group flights with a group of friends that meet up, and you know, we're all interested in aeroplanes and aviation and the whole bit, and we just fly along and we chat about, you know, whatever's come out on Flight Sim that week or what we've been up to. And it's just a relaxed way to spend the last couple of hours of a Sunday evening, basically. So it's usually at 8 p.m. British summer time at the moment. So that would be 1900 hours UTC. If you head to virtualflight.online on the web, you will find it. And you'll see the instructions there to go and join the Discord server where we all hang out for the group flights. And it's just good fun. I think tomorrow evening we're flying around the top of Europe, so we'll be up in the Norwegian fjords. Let's see if we can get over the top of this mountain here and shortcut this corner, otherwise we're going to be flying back on ourselves. Just keeping an eye on the time, I may actually have to stop at this airfield for the evening because I need to go and pick my daughter up fairly soon. So let's see how this climbs. Can we make it straight up over the top of this hill? Amazing scenery, isn't it? So straight in front of us down there somewhere is an airfield. Again, I cut the throttle too much. There's the runway. So we will... Let's just check the wind before we make a big decision about what we're going to do. 240 degrees, 3 knots. So it's coming from this direction, 3 knots. So we ought to be the other side, but 3 knots is almost nothing. But we'll behave ourselves. So we'll do a right circuit into the airfield, but how good this circuit's going to be is another matter, because I'm trying to lose speed and height at the same time, which is kind of difficult when the throttle complains at you if you go below about 30% or 20%. You can see we're picking up speed the entire time. I should have time to go to one more runway, I think. So we'll end this evening at... oh, actually no, because that's a small airfield. I'd rather stop at a big one. We'll see how we get on. We might be okay. A couple more airfields. Okay, so we're just losing some height, then we'll double back, lose the speed, get the approach in. May have to do some side slipping. So there's the runway. Yeah, we're far too high and too fast still. So let's do an orbit over here. We use this island as a marker, we'll just double fly around it and back. Just side slipping as we go around this turn, putting the nose in the air to slow us down, and it's working. And there's the runway, and we're broadly in line. Okay, so gear down. We're going too fast. And now the gear is down, we can drop the revs without the klaxon. We're going to sit straight in the seat, and again we're going to have to side slip. Just to lose the height in a hurry. Okay, coming out of the side slip. Very gently, and we're back under normal control. Turn on the right to distract moths from keep landing on my screen while I'm flying. It's just getting to dusk here, so there's a lot of moths have suddenly come in the room. That was a stall warning, by the way. So flat out and rotate at 80 knots, and we're up, which is good. Gear up, climb away, flaps up, engine's back to about 85–90%. And turn. Should we have a play with the autopilot whilst we're flying along here rather than hand fly this bit? So to get the autopilot on, we first of all need to trim the aircraft out so we don't get any huge surprises when we switch it on. So I'm just looking at the vertical speed here. I want to get it fairly level. Okay, so autopilot on. We'll go and adjust the heading marker to go the direction we want it to go, which is about the direction we're going. So heading mode on, altitude hold mode on. We're staying over the water, so that's all good. If we did want to go a bit higher, so say we wanted to go to 2,000 feet, what we could do is switch altitude hold off and roll the pitch gyro here to give us some climb rate and then we just go to altitude hold when we get to 2000. It's remarkably kind of rudimentary, but it works. It doesn't have a target altitude as like some of the newer or more modern aircraft have. You just set your climb rate and keep an eye on the airspeed. So coming up to 2,000 feet. When we get there, we just hit altitude hold and it'll keep us on at 2,000 feet. If we wanted to get there a bit more gently, we can trim out a little bit of that attitude, but it's only coming up slowly anyway, so that's all good. So get ready with the altitude hold button for 2,000 feet altitude above sea level. And there we go. Okay, so now we can concentrate on having a look around and controlling the direction of the aircraft just by moving the heading bug. Airplane looks amazing. It's just incredibly noisy outside. So Dr. Beavis says, "Oh snap, got your little nav map tweak working. Very cool." What was the tweak? I don't remember. Oh, you mean this thing with being able to see the online aircraft and the little red aeroplanes everywhere? Yeah, it's transmitter. I think that's what you're talking about. Yeah, so there is a version of it that's in testing at the moment. I need to have a look at it though. It auto-connects. It's got a new option in the file menu to do auto-connect that's on by default. So you run it and leave it in the background, and if Flight Sim is running, it will be transmitting. But I had it not do it earlier, and I don't know why. So I need to have a look at that. It's not been released yet, the version with auto-connect. And has the sim just paused? And the sim has paused. Are we about to get a crash? Let's see if it comes back. Has the sim died? That is the question. Oh no, it's come back to life. That's the first pause, the first big pause I have had since I replaced, or since I added a powered USB hub. So it's obviously the USB ports on the motherboard, I think, are causing it, because obviously the hub still goes through the motherboard USB ports. So I think I'm going to have to buy an expansion card to put a completely different USB controller inside the computer. How do you change the Microsoft Flight Sim server? It's in the settings of transmitter. You can just change it and just make it agree with what you're using in the sim and then connect it. It's just for you to be able to tell other people this is the server I am using. There is no way of getting that from the sim. So if you want to know where it is in the sim, it's up in the where your name is at the top corner. That's where you choose the simulator you are the server you are using. So yeah, there is no way of finding out that server from the simulator. Just in the same way, there's no way of finding out the multiplayer aircraft positions yet, because there is no API for it yet, which is why we're using transmitter. So if anybody hasn't seen this before, I'm running a tiny little program called Transmitter that I wrote ages ago. And what it does, everyone running it is broadcasting their position to a database on the internet. And then when you look in Little Nav Map, there's some configuration you can do in Little Nav Map where you can say in the online flying section, get the aircraft data from this URL. and that gives you the positions of every aircraft of people that are using transmitter. So if we went and looked somewhere else in the world where we'll find, so there's some red aeroplanes, look, there's one. So every few seconds he will update position, and you can click on him and find out who he is and what aircraft he is. So for group flights it becomes invaluable. And alongside that functionality in Little Nav Map, I'll just go and center myself back up. Alongside that functionality in Little Nav Map, if you go to the internet and you go to Virtual Flight Online and you go to the transmitter page and you say who is online, it comes up with an interactive map which shows everybody and where they are right now, which is pretty much the same thing as in Little Nav Map, where you can see the positions in the online clients tab of the search. Yeah, and if you hover over, or if you click on somebody, sorry, so if I click on myself, look, it puts a yellow triangle, yellow circle around me. If I double click on me, it takes me straight to me. If I look at someone else, so I'll go and pick on someone, say this is Jean-Louis. If I double click on him, we can see where he is in the world. He's at Antigua by the look of it. So if I go and click on myself again, there we are. Okay, so we need to turn in towards Puerto Ingeniero, which was not the full name, and I probably massacred the pronunciation of it. And we need to get off the throttle as well. So transmitter comes into its own for group flights. So you can see where each other are on a map. And if you go to that Who's Flying page on the internet, you can see what server your friends are saying they are on, at least. So you can agree with the same multiplayer server as each other. Okay, so we're just flying in. Looks like we may have some visibility issues on the way in, seeing as we can't see a thing with the low light from the sun. But that's why we have moving maps. So it's just to the right of the inlet, of the main inlet. So on that flat area of land in the middle of the delta, there should be an airfield. We're just losing speed as we go. So yeah, basically you run transmitter in the background and just minimize it and leave it running. And the whole time it's running, it is broadcasting your position. Okay, so I'm trying to lose enough speed to drop the wheels and the flaps here. And I'm also trying to get a visual on the runway, which I believe I'm right in front of. There it is, I think. Oh, here it is, sorry. It's much easier to see than we thought. Okay, so gear down, flaps down. Again, we're going to have to... I'm forcing the loss of some airspeed here. We're a bit high and a bit fast again. There we go. Okay, flaps back up to takeoff position. Flat out across. This is quite wide, isn't it? And very flat, actually. I was expecting this to be a much more difficult runway. So rotate, and we're airborne again. Gear up. Get the speed up. And we're heading for the final airfield for the evening, which is going to be over towards SCCY, which is quite a long trip. Oh no, SCBA, sorry. I'm just trying to decide the best way out of here. I think probably following the inlet. SCBA, so let's get that programmed in while we're flying along. Back. Flight plan. We are down at the bottom of here, so insert after Sierra Charlie Bravo Alpha. I thought it was SCBA. Let's just double check that. SCBA, there we go. And enter. And back. And then map. Yeah, so we need to be going northwest, sorry, northeast really. But we're avoiding these hills because even though this is good at climbing, it's not that good at climbing. So let's just border or skirt these hills, continue climbing as we go, and that should take us out towards our destination. Yeah, just reading the comments about Navigraph. Yeah, Navigraph can plot your position, and so can things like Volanta. But they don't put labels on the map, which is really annoying. Whereas at least this puts a label on next to your aircraft, which is really useful in a group flight situation, especially for air traffic controllers. And it's free, which obviously Navigraph isn't. And the update rate on Volanta, it doesn't update the aircraft fast enough for it to make, you know, any sense for an air traffic controller to use. And the huge benefit of Little Navmap with using this data file with it is you get the list of the aircraft on the side of the screen, so you can identify people that are talking to you just by clicking on them to see where they are on the radar quickly. Okay, so Ronnie Plays has appeared and said, hello everyone. Hello Ronnie. I'm just heading towards the final airfield of the evening, or of this session I should say. So I'm kind of skirting around these hills here to get a route towards it. It's kind of spectacular scenery though. I'm going to have to remember this part of the world for the next group flight because it's, yeah, it's amazing. Continue climbing. I've still got the engines pushed against the stop, so I ought to pull them back a bit. Climbing, climbing, climbing. Are we going to make it? This is going to be dodgy. I think we'll be fine. 110 knots. Just skimming the hilltop. Close enough to see the grass. Okay, we're fine. So let's continue climbing. We've got some speed back. We're going to try and get back onto the route direct to our destination. We'll get some high altitude views of some of these hills that we've been flying around. Which will be interesting, because we haven't seen anything really from the valley bottoms, have we? So if we continue climbing quite hard, keeping an eye on the indicated airspeed, of course. Then you get rewarded with the views eventually, which is quite cool. So Racon has appeared, says love to fly in South America. Good night. Okay, so we're getting back towards the track of our final destination. So if I zoom out slightly, we can see there's a huge peak here. Another one, we're going to go in between the peaks. So we're going to keep climbing and climbing and climbing, and then our major problem will be descending and losing speed towards the destination. Try and make it through this mountain pass up here. I'm hoping we'll find some mountain passes. And the visibility is getting worse. So this is not going to be fun. Trying to spot the ground on the way through the mountain pass. Although we're keeping the speed up nicely, so that's good. Visibility isn't a problem now, and we're clear to the destination, which is fantastic. So come off the throttle and descend. Treetop descent out of the mountains. And we have company. Okay, so let's have a look on little nav map and see what the weather is doing at Makeda, I'm not sure how you pronounce that. 240 degrees 3 knots, so it's coming from the east. We'll end up on this side of the airfield then. And we'll find out if Mr. Hotshot Flyer that just flew past can actually land. Which would be interesting to see. And he's just hit the ground and died. Just over there. So well done. Okay, so we're just going to land, and that will be the end for the evening, because I need to go and pick my daughter up in a minute. Losing some speed. So there's our final airfield for the night. Speed is coming off slowly. Let's get the nose in the air. Okay, wheels down. And we're going to use some side slipping to get this to descend and not accelerate too much. Remove the side slip. Center the view up. Okay, flaps up. Just taxi in. parking spot really now, isn't it? There's the fuel over there. Should we go for this corner? And we'll spin ourselves around. Okay, parking brake on. Cut fuel to the engines. That brings the propeller to a stop. Here comes our friend. And then lights off. Pitot heat off. Alternators off. Master battery off. And we didn't reopen the cowl flaps. We should have done that really. And master switch for the avionics off. And open the door. Let some fresh air in, and of course now we can hear his engines out there. And that's us done for the evening. So thank you very much if you followed along. Please do click like, subscribe and all the rest of it for YouTube, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. I've recorded a few flights today with various different aeroplanes showing off different things, so do go and have an explore of my channel, and I'll see you soon. Okay. Oh, the van has just written your aircraft off, I'm afraid. Oh dear. Anyway, I'm going to stop there. I've got to go. I'll see you soon.